passe l'artiste. Super, encore un but sensationnel. That's a brilliant bit of follow-up play by Mahe. Oh my goodness me, what a shot.
Sagosen setter det hen! Han setter den! De er i semifinale igjen!
The Uniformed Handball Hour is back, and this week we're talking all about the Women's Champions League. It's myself, Brian Campion, and Chris O'Reilly in the house. Alec is off doing other things, doing some morning clubs with some mysterious Danish journalists, hopefully. We are joined today by Danijela Vekic, who is a EHF journalist, and she knows all about women's handball, so she has plenty of insight on the start of the Women's Champions League. Chris, how you doing?
Good, Brian. Good to be talking some women's handball as well. It's only 2 rounds played in the Champions League, and already a lot to talk about, as you're all going to hear shortly as we dive into it. And something that's already kind of struck me planning for this is that overall it feels a lot more exciting than the men's competition. Fair to say?
I think it is fair to say, yeah, especially that Group B. That Group B is really, really, really tasty. Apart from maybe one position in the table, which is it's impossible to call where the teams are gonna end up. So yeah, I'm really excited about the Women's Champions League season. I'll be off to FTC, my first game, in 2 weeks' time, so I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. We'll see, have FTC maybe improved a little bit by then. Hopefully they have for that match of the week. What about you? Are you lined up for any games this season?
The women's, no, unfortunately, no. They don't want me for it. Yeah.
All right.
We'll keep reporting on it, even if nobody wants me to. The Uniformed Handball Hour, that's our motto for the season.
We'll keep on trucking.
But I do get the first men's match of the week on Wednesday, going to Płotsk.
Nice.
For the first time ever, believe it or not. I haven't been to Płotsk before.
Really?
It's quite exciting.
Okay.
And their game against Georgi on Wednesday, and it's going to be a Polish double header for me. So Płotsk this Wednesday, and then you and I will both be in Kielce together for round 3. Looking forward to a couple of trips out to lovely Poland. But I think we can dive into our chat with Danijela Vekic, who's joining us from France, and time to break down the Women's EHF Champions League. So we welcome Danijela Vekic, reporter for the EHF, with us to talk about the Women's EHF Champions League. Danijela, how are you?
Oh, fine. I'm happy to be with you guys in this podcast and to talk about the Champions League women.
Only 2 rounds played so far, but I think it's always a nice time to check in on the competition, because it's not quite, pre-season predictions and trying to figure out what teams are like. We've got a little look at them. Some hitting the ground running straight away, some not so much. So I think we can look at it on a group by group basis. And we'll start with the I would say the less exciting group, Group A. And what are your first impressions of that group so far and what you've seen?
Well, for now, I think it's mostly like we all thought. J is always there. They're always contenders for the EHF Final Four, and they're strong also this season. They have a new head coach, but they stayed in the same focus they had before. For me, surprise after this first 2 rounds, Bittenheim has 2 wins straight out. I don't think that they maybe expected it, but they really made a progress since they joined Champions League Women after playing EHF European League Women. And other than that, I really think that it's expected, I would say, maybe in the Group A with Cesena and Brest and Sefehov not doing the best, as they never progressed further from the group ever in their history of playing Champions League, and Budućnost is here trying their best as always. So I really do believe it's expected Group A for now.
I mean, we've seen this with Bietigheim before, when they start strong and then kind of completely fell off a cliff last season.
Yeah.
Do you expect them to maybe be able to keep up this tempo a bit more with that experience behind them, that they know how tough, obviously, it's a really grueling group stage, isn't it? It just keeps on going, and the level in the group is obviously fairly even?
I hope they will be able to keep up the same level they are now. I think that they have good experience behind them. I really don't like to predict anything because I'm really bad at it. Because when I say someone's gonna be good, they don't end up at all being good.
Welcome to the podcast.
So it's hard, but I really do believe they have a strong experience behind them, especially with that last season. We saw last season they were really good in attack. They scored more than 40 goals, more than 2 times, I think. I'm not sure really, but I really do believe they can do that. But we'll see. They have 4 new players, so it's not, they didn't have a huge changes during the season, during the summer. But I think it's going to be interesting. I don't know. I said I don't like to predict as I'm really bad at it. So,
well, I think compared to last year, I remember when they had their great start, there was always the worry, which ended up coming through, that it was a little bit shallow, the squad. And if there was a couple of injuries or players lost some form, that they would, as it turned out to be in the end, they would fall off that cliff and miss out on the next round. This year, with the players they brought in, with everyone at the moment who's playing seeming quite fit, it looks a bit more robust this time. It looks like a bit of a deeper squad, not full of absolute superstars, but full of players who can come in and do a job for them. And the fact that they managed to get that home win over Chessame over the last weekend, I think shows that they are already at a different level. Do you think they will be real contenders? We'll talk about the other contenders for second place, but do you think they will be able to kind of keep this going consistently?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's a good group. You have Odense there with a new head coach who was 3-time Champions League winner with Vipers. So it's going to be hard. You have Chessame, who is always there, Nabu. It's just hard to expect from them to be on second place, but I do believe that they maybe can progress further from the group to the playoffs this season. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and we don't really like to talk about Győr too early in this competition, but I would like to get because it's obviously quite boring sometimes as well, but I want to get your kind of first reaction to the start of their season. Obviously plain sailing so far. What do you make of the players that they've added to the squad, and how the squad's looking at the moment?
For me, they didn't have that much of a change. I mean, Bruno De Paula came, and Rinka from SOA. Maybe, I mean, it is boring to talk about them because they are always there. They had ups and downs last season also. They had missing win against their fellow Hungarian friends in the round 2, but in the first round they were struggling against Brest a little bit more. But for me, Győr is Győr. It's not some science fiction. They're always great, they're always there, and despite even when they had stumbled upon some opponent, they lost some games also last season, but they're always there, and they are always at the age of 104 somehow. I really do believe they're strong. I mean, they finished 3rd last season, so it's just Győr. No matter what changes they do, they have the system set with their play.
Yeah, and I think the addition of Bruno De Paula is super exciting. I mean, that brings another dimension to a backcourt, which, when we got to the Final Four last year, felt a little bit predictable, which is kind of surprising when you see the likes of Enziminko and Oftedal in that team. But Bruno De Paula just brings a whole other level of, you have no idea what the hell she's going to do next. And I think that's going to be really exciting to see how that develops. Also with Kari Bratzett kind of leading the team and coming back into full fitness as well after last season. There's a kind of a subplot for all of this, and I think we'll maybe mention it as the season goes on, but something I didn't really notice until recently is that Stina Oftedal is planning on leaving the club and potentially or probably retiring after the Olympics, which for a 31-year-old kind of at the peak of her powers feels quite ludicrous.
I agree with you, and I have to be honest, I didn't hear that news also, but yeah, handball is always full of surprises, and I don't want to go into some personal choices, but for me, it's really a surprise because she's a great player. She's always, focused, and she was great on the court all the time. So I don't know.
What do you think, Brian?
I don't know. I mean, she's 32 in a few days, so I mean, I don't know. Maybe she wants to finish at a high in her career, and maybe she feels like it's her style of handball, beating players one-on-one, being very quick off the mark, that she notices that she doesn't quite have the same spring in her step that she used to, and she wants to finish this season on a high and call it there. But I think it does feel a bit premature. She could easily play till she's 34, 35. Or perhaps she's maybe trying to strong arm some sort of weird contract negotiation thing and saying, "Oh, you don't want me? Don't want to give me that? Then I'm finished this season. Yeah, I'll say goodbye."
Maybe she's planning on something else in her private life. You never know. I mean, with
that also
female players, it's always different. You never know.
Yeah.
I think that she's engaged. She got engaged this summer or at the end of the season, so maybe there's something to do with it also.
Runa Damka, you absolute unbelievable. We'll save that for another day. But I guess it's not as I'm guessing the reasons are non-playing related. Yeah, so Jura seemed like the outstanding candidate, which is no surprise to finish at least in the top two. We spoke about Bietigheim there, and then it's like Chessame, you said, are always there. Odense and Brest. Let's talk a little bit about Chessame, because Brian, they're a team that you also come across kind of personally quite often. Looking at the team this year, it feels like maybe more than ever there's like an A team and a B team within the squad, trying to find a bit more of a balance with Romanian players as well. But I feel like that's just going to make them more inconsistent when it comes to the group phase, as opposed to last year where they actually were pretty consistent and finishing in the top two in the group.
Yeah, I mean they're a team which I really enjoy going there when I do go there, because it is a great club and great fans. But I see what you mean with the squad mixing in the youth players, maybe looking towards the future a little bit. I mean, I did see a lot of Mihaela Mihai, the right winger, who's actually injured at the moment, but I'm presume she'll be back in later in the season. So they do have some good young talented Romanian players in there. Are they ready for the Champions League handball? Maybe not quite yet. I'd say Mihaela Mihai probably is one of them that is. But it does seem like they will be missing Elizabeth. Oh God, Chris, her surname. Amoregi, yes. I can never how to pronounce that name. You see it written down so much and never know how to pronounce it. Amoregi, yes. She'll be out for a bit as well, injured. A bit light maybe in certain positions. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on players like Gras Sadi as well. From going on what we've seen so far, it seemed like it was the classic Pentea Niagu combining, I think, for 15 goals in one of their games. So like nothing changed there really. But to do that the whole group phase with a lot of those youngsters thrown in there, it's a tough task to imagine them finishing up maybe in third position, for example. I'd imagine to be kind of more. I envision a lot of ups and downs, some good results and some poor ones mixed in as well there as well. So I think it's going to be a bit of a roller coaster season for them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just like Brian said, they're not gonna have it easy maybe as they did last season, but their attack is, as you said, Nagu, Pinterai, and they were good in these two games. But Nagu had 5 out of 12 shots against Bietigheim, so you cannot expect her to pull the team all the time throughout the season. It's hard for all the players. Even if you're the best player in the world, it's super hard. But maybe their backup could be a defense and Laura Lausa. I hope I pronounced right on the goal between the posts. But I don't think it's going to be that easy. And Laura actually helped them in those two games. If she wasn't good against Bietigheim, I think Bietigheim could won even more than just 2 goals as they did. So, yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting season for Chessame.
And you made a mention of Odense and their new coach, Oli Ekstad. Also, 8 new players that have come in. For the team has completely changed compared to last season. It feels like they'll need some time for all of that to gel. Nevertheless, a super exciting team. And with the goalkeeper pairing of Althea Reinhardt and Yara ten Holte, probably, maybe or perhaps the most exciting young duo of goalkeepers in the competition. What in particular, I've just said what excites me about this team. There's anything in particular that really stands out for you, Danijela, about them?
As you said, goalkeeper duo. For me, Yara ten Holte is an amazing goalkeeper, and she's only 24, I think. No, 23, and she's done such a great progress in Dortmund, and we saw what she's capable of last season in EHF European League Women, especially in the finals in Graz. She could really make an even better progress in Champions League this season, and for me, it's great to see they really have a Dutch colony now in dance. So we have, I think that even Nikita van der Leer joined. We have Elma Halilcevic also coming. She's a great wing player, great for counterattacks. So I really believe that we're gonna see that recognizable Scandinavian style that we saw with Ola and Vipers also, fast pace and with really great handball actions for me. That's how I see it. And they have a good mix of players, Scandinavian, like now from Norway, Denmark, and those Dutch girls that are just, I think it's 5 of them or 6, I'm not sure the exact number.
Yeah, it's a nice mix. And our third co-host, Alex, always says, the team with the best Norwegians are going to win in the end. Maybe they don't have the best Norwegians, Brian, but they've brought in a few interesting ones, that's for sure, with Oli Ekstad. What do you think about the Odense team?
One thing that's really interesting for me is actually the spine of this team of the Dutch players that you mentioned. You have Yara ten Holte in goal, Bo van Wetering on the left wing, Nikita van der Vliet on the line, Lara Nusser in centre back, and of course House here then in right back. All 23 years of age, so they're all literally from the same generation. And I think they're at the age now at 23 where they now have to really, we've seen it a lot from House here in past seasons, but now I think for the rest of those names in there, it's time for them to really kind of cement their name in senior handball and really step up. And I think we've seen it obviously from House here, and of course obviously from Yara ten Holte. But it's going to be interesting how the likes of Bo van Wetering and Van der Vliet do this season, because I think it's their time to shine. And I think with a coach like Oli Ekstad, I think they can really now start to push on a bit.
Brest, the other contender in that group, it feels like a lot is going to be revealed for them in the next 3 games, because they're playing Odense, Bietigheim, and Chessame, basically the 3 teams that they're going to be fighting for second place with. The team doesn't look quite as strong on paper in comparison to last year.
I didn't have a chance to watch their game this season because unfortunately Adriano was covering the Brest to both 2 Brest games. But yes, for me, on the paper, they're not as strong. They have Maslova joining from Metz, and they lost Itana Grbic and Tatjana Brnavic to Krim. So they have some small changes in the squad. They're not as strong on paper, as you said. And their main goal is actually to reach the playoff, just like they did last season. So I don't know if they can shake things up in the group. But with the first 2 games, they lost only by 1 goal against Jet in the first round. So I think that they have a, I would say, good season so far, but I don't know how far they can go into the Champions League. For me, their realistic goal would be for the finals, maybe, but not for. That's my honest opinion, but maybe they will surprise me.
And we'll just finish off on Group A before we go to the blockbuster Group B. It's like a 3-way battle for 6th place. It already feels like between DVSC Schäffler, the new 3rd Hungarian team in the mix, Sävehof from Sweden, and Budućnost. Which of those 3 do you think will come out ahead?
Oh, I don't know. I know that we're not going to have the same situation as we had last season with Banik Most or Kastamonu or Lokomotiva when they didn't have any win or just one draw. I don't think that we're going to see that in Group A. I do believe that some of them could win some and, surprise someone. But for me, I would say that it's hard. But I think that the Luchans could go to the playoffs again. They had a poor start to the season last year also, but they managed to progress during the season. Bojana Popovic always have some changes in the squad and always bring some new younger players, and I think that they will be able to make a progress later in the group and maybe to get that spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, because they do have interesting players in the team, right? It's not like they've turned completely terrible overnight. It seems to have been a slow but sure kind of degradation. But some of the players they've brought in with Hafra and Iakate, if they can get fit and really get going, it feels like they can mix it with anyone.
I believe that they just need some more time to, straighten things up. Some of the players now play together, and they lost Mateo Pletikosic and Ilda Kepic and Nina Bulatovic, who were there for always there somehow. So I believe that these new players just have to have more official matches together, because preparation matches and friendly matches are not always the right example of how the team is playing. If you compare it with Krim, they didn't have such a great preparation period, but now they're winning.
Balkan teams don't care about preparation matches.
So I think that productions can be better as we were going to have progressed through the season. Yeah.
That's enough of the warm-up here for big Group B. And who would have thought that in a group with three of the final four teams from last season, Vipers, FTC and Esbjerg, that it would be Krim and the third Danish team, EKAST, who would set the pace after the first two rounds. Of course, we have to keep saying it's only 2 rounds done out of 14, but still, Krim and EKAST leading the way. How about that?
I'm surprised. I'm surprised maybe for the EKAST. I talked with Dragan Nadic ahead of the season start with Krim, and he said that they started preparing for this season already in April when they were knocked out of the Champions League Women. So he had a clear vision what he wants to do with his team and with the players that are joining in. And he said, I believe we can cope up with anyone in the Champions League and we can reach the EHF Final Four. So far, his words are coming true, actually. And for me, defensive-wise, they were amazing, especially, the first game against Lubin is not the right show what they can do, but against Esbjerg, they were great defensive-wise, and they're really playing good and with ease somehow. That's my opinion on Krim. And EKAST, I'm surprised because they just came after 3 years of EHF European League Women, and they were powerhouse of the European League Women. And the start of the season with 2 straight wins, it's against Vipers, current European champions, and the match is just unbelievable. And for me, Kasper is doing an amazing job with them.
I think it was the first time in 3 years that Vipers have lost their opening match as well. So I don't know what that's going to tell us about the rest of the season. But because there's a lot of stuff to go through here, I don't know where to start. First of all, I'll maybe start with this. I feel really sorry for Lublin, because I think Lublin have probably had their best chance to win a game in their last tie when they just lost by 1, and they might never get that close again to any other teams in the group. I think it's a really. Let's talk about maybe FTC as well, because I think FTC it's been a very, very hard and difficult debut for the coach Martin Albertsen, and I feel like all the neutrals out there who know Martin and follow on Instagram were kind of rooting for him, because he's very active on his social medias, and we all know what kind of style of coach he is. Obviously, I saw him a lot during the summer as well when he was coaching the Swiss youth under 19s team, and when it goes well for him, his teams always produce beautiful handball. But I maybe feel like this FTC team have been working with the same coach for so long now that it's going to take a while for them to adjust to his style of play and stuff like that. And I felt from after the first game when they lost to Metz 25-38 at home. I think it was one of their worst opening or worst home losses, I think, since 2016. So it was a huge loss for them there. And he said directly after the game, they punished us for all our mistakes and I'm disappointed with the debut. We practiced well yesterday, but today everything went wrong. I'm happy there will be a game next week because I know we can really show our quality there. And then next week they get beat 37-26 by Vipers. The Champions League is hard, you know. Champions League is a tough competition. But what do you think? Do you feel like, because I feel like maybe the FTC aren't going to be this poor all season long. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for them to get used to their new style of play. What's your kind of gut feeling for their season this season?
I have to admit, I was surprised with their first 2 games in the Champions League. I mean, we all know they have new coach, Albertson, as you said. We know how he was working with in Switzerland and with a Swiss national team. We saw them in the EHF Euro 2022, but I did not expect 2 double-digit defeats at the start of the EHF Champions League at all. And I don't know, I'm lost for words because they have a good team on paper. They didn't have a lot of changes during the summer. So I think they only had 3 new players and 2 departures. So I'm shocked, to be honest. I mean, they conceded 75 goals in 2 games. That's a lot for them. Yeah. It's really a lot for them. And it's not common to see them struggling that much. So I hope they will be better later in the stage, as you said. But it's important that the club and the girls have trust in the coach. So as we already know, we have some departures of the coaches already after first or second round. So I really think it's important for them to trust the process.
Luckily, Hungarian fans are very level-headed and cool about this and don't like to make rash decisions on coaches. So
I was going to say, well, at least with FTC, we know that they stuck with Gabor Elik.
Yeah, true.
He stuck with them for so long. You feel like they would give Martin Albertson some time to settle in, because it isn't just like a new coach coming in. This is a whole new structure, a whole new project, a new era for the team, and they haven't gotten bad overnight, but it feels like there's a lot of change. And you're mentioning it there, his style of play is very different, and it takes some time to work with that. From one team that hopefully will stay patient to a club that didn't, and you mentioned it there, or you referenced it there, Danijela, Kim Rasmussen leaving by mutual consent Rapid Bucharest after only 6 months in charge, and 2 narrow defeats, one in the Champions League to Esbjerg, one to Chesama in domestic action. It always just seems to happen to Kim. What do you make of this?
Oh, I didn't expect it. I mean, the season just started and you just lost game. I mean, I know it's a big thing in Romania and they lost their derby against Chesama, but for me, it's bad when team changes coach so early in the season, because there's a lot of games to play and you can still make something out of it. But it seems like they all have the same, we don't have the same opinion as the rest of the club, how we should play. So I don't know if Rapid's going to have good, because we saw that after they parted ways with Kim, they won against Lubin only by 1, I think, in the second round. So it's going to be interesting to see how it impacts their playing style throughout the season, because I don't know. I mean, maybe Adrian is better expert on this topic, but with the assistant coach David, I don't know. Is he gonna continue in the same path as Kim, or he's gonna implement totally new system, new playing style? I don't know. I think this third round is gonna give us some answers with Rapid.
Yeah. Just to read Kim Rasmussen's statement that he put on Instagram, and then Brian, I want to get your thoughts on this. Thank you, girls and staff, for your dedication and hard work. But now it's time to go home and find some peace with my closest. We leave a team that has shown great spirit the last games. We pushed Esbjerg and Chessima to the limits. But as always, life moves on, and all you can do is keep fighting. That's what I will do. Thank you again. You know, he came in and won the Champions League with the other Bucharest team back in 2016. Probably shouldn't have come back. It could only have gone downhill from there.
I mean, he's been with 6 teams since 2020. So, like, he's really been chopping and changing a lot. And from the brief interactions I've had with him and some things I've heard about him, I think he's maybe... It's kind of, for a lot of time, his way or the highway for everything. So I think he can kind of burn a few bridges with people very easily, and maybe not the easiest man in the world to deal with, and maybe a little bit too idealistic for the sport that he's working in, because there are certain limitations in terms of budget and all that. But I don't know the details of it. I don't think anyone does. But when you're seeing how often he's changing clubs, that maybe it's time for him to just hold up the mirror to himself a little bit and chill out. I don't know. What do you think? Big words, I know, but that's all speculation now.
Yeah. It's like it's kind of the old saying. It's like at a certain point, is the problem them or is the problem you? When you keep changing. Of course, you can also look at it on an individual basis. For example, Korea, before that, there was clear reasons why that happened. And with Rapid here, it's not too much of a surprise. Maybe we'll have to get him on and we'll hear what he has to say about each of them.
Because, I mean, there's no doubt that he's a really, really good coach as well, because every time he goes somewhere new, there's a lot of excitement about it. And I always feel like he's never there long enough for us to really see what he can do. And it is a shame in that regard as well.
Keeping on the Instagram here, because most of them are supportive messages, like in the comments, like Maisa Pessoa, who was the goalkeeper for Chessima when they won the Champions League together, says, Romania being Romania, they never learn. And as good luck, coach, you know your value. Other people saying the problem is Rapid. But then one person here says, is it possible that you are not learning? ?
I don't think it's necessarily him having problems with the players, by the way, either. I think it's very much hierarchy within clubs often that causes the problems, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to know, but either way, it feels like that's not going to have... their game afterwards, as you said, it was a rare opportunity for Lubin to maybe pick up a win, but Rapid got away with the victory anyway. So far, we've managed to only talk about one of the 3 teams that were in the Final Four last season that are in this group. Which would you like next, Danijela? Esbjerg or Vipers?
Oh, let's go with Vipers, because it's gonna be interesting to see 3-time champions with the new head coach, new structure. They had some small changes in the squad, like 4 new players, I think, coming. So I think it's gonna be interesting to see how will they play this season, and if they're gonna be able to repeat the same thing, at least reaching the EHF Final Four. For me, that is the most important thing for them, if they gonna be able to repeat it. So they didn't have, some strong signings during the summer, except Luisa Schulze from Metz and Lois Abing from Adens. I hope I'm pronouncing their names right. The head coach right now, Tomas Hlavati, he was the assistant coach, and he has a good history of, as an assistant coach, he's a good coach. I don't know how he's going to deal with the pressure, maybe, because we know in Scandinavia, there is sometimes a lot of pressure on the clubs to reach some goals. It's different than in the rest of the Europe. So it's going to be interesting to see how they will cope with the high expectations that we all have from Vipers each season.
I think it's a little bit too early to say. Everyone was shocked by that opening loss to ECAST. But I think when we saw Yerbkova signing for ECAST, we were laughing at it last season. But now it's so clear that you just send Yerbkova to a club and all of a sudden you're Champions League contenders. She brings the magic dust with her wherever she goes. I think it's a bit too small of a sample size, because everyone could, lose a shock opening game. And obviously with a new coach in, they're going to need time to settle in as well. But I think they did have a very good opening then home match. So that's absolutely hockey FTC. So I think the third match, I think their next match now, I think will tell a lot of where they stand. But I'm not worried at all about Vipers. I think they still are definitely Final Four contenders.
And every year they, 3 times in a row they've won the competition now. Every year they seem to reimagine the way they play and kind of redevelop the squad, rejuvenate themselves. They also have Paula Arcos in, who I think could be quite an exciting player. She, the Spanish international, she's just playing in the Champions League for the first time. So bringing her and Lois Abing in should, hopefully for them, make up for the loss of Jerzhabkova. But besides that, you have Roberts in there still, Bea Kareva in there as well, and Katrina Lunda, maybe. I mean, that's another subplot we mentioned about Stina Oftedal, but a lot of players like this, you feel like this may be the last hurrah for them because they're aiming towards the Olympics. And, we haven't talked too much about Krim and ECAS. Maybe we can touch back on them. But another player on the Krim side is Jovanka Radicevic. I thought she was going, and then she's back for another year, at least for club, maybe for country as well.
Well, I know that she came back for the club. She prolonged her contract with Krim in the end of last season, but I don't think that she's going to come back for the national team. She had really, touching farewell with the fans at the age of Euro. And I don't see her returning to the team. Maybe if something extraordinary happened for the Olympic Games. But after that touching farewell with the national team jersey and with the fans and with the bronze medal at the age of Euro, I don't see her coming back. And I know that this might be her last season in the Champions League, but you never know. Those players always
they can't keep her away.
Yeah. Because I think if they are feeling good, they are injured free, they want to play as long as they can. And why not? If they can.
Can't blame them.
It's the same with Lunda. She's amazing. Even at her age, she's great. And I talked to her at the age of Euro, and she said, as long as I can play, I will play. She likes that. And for me, that's good because I think that when some of those players retire, we're going to miss them, maybe.
Brian, one of your favorite players, Stina Skogrand, is lighting it up for ECAST. You mentioned Jerzhabkova there, but they're just so impressive. 39 goals against Metz, beating the 3-time reigning champions in the first game. Do you think they can keep it up?
Pulling off a Bietigheim, you mean? Yeah. I think nobody expected this, but I mean, perhaps them plying their trade in the European League with some of the young players. I mean, Yulia Scalioni is probably one of the most exciting young players in the world at the moment, and I saw a lot of her over the summer at the under-19s Euro, and she really felt like a level above everybody else. So it's going to be interesting to see how she gets into this season now. So they do have some really, really exciting players in there. But it's a test of time, isn't it? So it's going to be a long season and it's a very, very tough group. So I'm going to hold out just yet before I make any silly predictions, because I've made enough silly predictions in the past. But I think let's see by game 5 where they are, because it's been a huge start for them and some very, very attractive handball from what I've seen as well. But yeah, let's see where they are by round 5.
What I really like about them is that it's a team, full of not the biggest stars from their country, but or from the top countries in the world, but just like solid players, international level players from all of them. You look at like Bakkerud and Skogrand, 2 players that on another era could be much bigger players for Norway. Simona Petersen in the centre and Lindqvist, 2 internationals, but not stars for them. Jerzhabkova, who we know is a star now, but not from a big handball nation, but someone who was 9 from 9 against Metz. Emma Fries, how good is it to have her in the Champions League at last?
She was the MVP at the EHF finals last season. She's great. She's really, her strength is counterattacks, attack. She's fast, and she has really handball brain. And it comes to, she can really read the situations. And for me, it's really nice to see her at the big stage. I really do believe she's going to be even better as the season progresses. But what I want to say about it, because each season they make the progress, even though in European League Women, for 3 straight seasons, they were at the EHF finals. But each season they had some changes in their style of play. They were really making progress step by step. And now maybe even it was a surprise for them how good they started in the Champions League. but I really do believe they have a great team and a great coach, and they can really do amazing things. Emma on the left wing is definitely they're one of the best players, but I think they have a good goalkeeper also who joined from Thuringia. She was amazing last season, also in European League Women. So and says Cagliana, she's another world. She's from another world, and the whole mix of the team is amazing. I really, really like their style of play and the fast pace they impose to Mets in love.
We still haven't talked about Mets. Any thoughts on them? Because I have my thoughts on this team, but I want to hear from you folks. You've been a big champion of them over the years, Brian.
The huge win, obviously, over FTC was definitely they're definitely putting the marker down there. And I like Alina Greisels. Obviously, I think that's a really good signing for them. It's going to be interesting to see how she fits in there, having been the main character at Dortmund for so long. So it's going to be great to see her just maybe even wearing a different jersey. And I think she should suit their style of handball as well nicely. And I was looking up the statistics and this might be to do with they're massive. They've scored just obviously 38 and 36 goals so far. So they're really throwing the goals in, but they're on the top of every team statistic you can find on Eurohandball, just apart from 7 meters. So they're doing something right, even though they have lost that against ECAST. But again, we'll have to see where ECAST go. But I think it's, despite the loss, still quite an exciting Mets team. I think there's going to be no boring games with them anyway, because I think in terms of attack, they're really firing on all cylinders.
Well, I agree with you, and for me, they have a lot of changes during the summer. I mean, they've lost, I think, 10 players, among them in Brande Polao, Konacek, a lot of confidence loss. But as you said, Alina and Annemette Hansen are two biggest signings for them this summer, and I think that they will be one of the top 2 teams at the end, maybe, because, as you said, they scored, I don't know how many is that at the end, 74 goals in 2 games. That's just amazing. Maybe they should work more on defense, but that's my opinion. Because in my own honest opinion, I don't like the fast handball that's played right now with 40 goals on both sides. That's for me just not the handball that we used to know. I really love the defense. So maybe that, but
I hate defense. I love all the goals, I think we should get rid of defense, no defense, just all go. No, joking. No, I'm kidding, everything.
The players they have in their, well, the Danes, basically, Annemette Hansen, Jorgensen, and Burgard, all very good defenders. It feels a little bit thin, the squad, though, in terms of the established players, only 2 in every backcourt position. That could get a bit dangerous as the season goes on, considering in particular the 3 Danes I mentioned and Greisels are all very important for their country as well, and have a world championship to battle in December. So I wonder if I kind of feel like we're saying that about almost all the teams, but maybe 2 or 3 teams, and I feel like all the teams after that are kind of in a similar position, with kind of after their starting 7 they have 1 or 2 or 3 good subs, but then it gets very, very light. I mean, we talked about Chesame as well being in a similar-ish position. But was that your main takeaway from you said you had a take on the team? Is that your main takeaway? You feel like they're just a bit light? Yeah. I mean, the players, like the 4 main backcourt players, I think are very, very good. But then what's going to happen after that? They've lost a lot of, or there's been a big change in the squad. And Emmanuel Maynard has done it before successfully, with a really bad season in between, but knowing that was going to happen. This time it's a bit more like they should still perform with the players they have, but there's no guarantee of it. So yeah, we'll see. But the fact they're scoring goals is a positive thing, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think especially like left wing, right wing, you have Valentini and Granier, and then you've Buktiti on the line. After that, I'm honest, I don't know any other players in the squad list after that, so it does get very, very light in those positions. Should one of those people get in, so should Granier or Valentini especially get injured, because the they rely on them for a lot of goals.
But they're their own products, the players that come up through the youth teams. So that has worked before for them. So we'll see how it works again. To finish off, Danijela, I know you said you don't like to make predictions, but I'm going to have to ask you, assuming that Lubin are going to finish bottom of this group, which of all of these teams is going to miss out on the playoffs, do you think?
I think this group is just mental. It's so hard to make a prediction because when you read the names of the clubs, it's just crazy. I don't know.
Go on. Or Brian, you go first. Or I can go. I think Rapid have now ruined it for themselves. I think they've jumped the gun, and it's going to hurt them. Because I just cannot see Esbjerg, FTC, Vipers, Mets, Krim or ECAST not make it through. I think if there's one team that has more of a inconsistency over 14 rounds, it'll be Rapid.
I might agree with you with Rapid, but you never know. And I mean, even last season, they performed some great matches when they needed to. So I don't know. I'm scared of for FTC. I really hope they're gonna start playing a lot better. But I'm really scared for them because it's not that they lost first two games by narrow,
No.
So it's two strong defeats, and it's really hard to come up from those two defeats at the start of the season. It's really hard. So I'm really scared for them.
Yeah, we'll have to look into the statistics as well of a team that made it to the final and didn't make it out of the group phase next season. I'm sure it hasn't happened that often, but I'm a little bit worried about FTC because it depends on how long it's going to take for them to get going and because it looks like they're miles off it at the moment, whereas maybe Bucharest maybe not as much, like lost by 2 to Esbjerg and 1 by 1 against Lublin, but yeah, whereas FTC just look absolutely like they're playing European Cup at the moment.
Just having that little bit of uncertainty in both groups is refreshing because when we were doing the men's Champions League one, it was pretty much set in stone which teams are not going to make it through, and that I think is a big positive with the introduction of these third teams from Denmark, particularly Denmark and Hungary. It's definitely helped shake it up a little bit. But for now, I think we could say, Danijela, thank you so much for joining us. First appearance on the podcast, right?
Thank you for inviting me.
Our pleasure. We'll definitely have you back as the season progresses. Enjoy the coming games and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And I hope that our predictions are going to be so bad this season.
Okay, so there you have it. Thank you, Danijela, for that lovely interview. Some great bits of insight there from her. You can, of course, read all of her stuff on Eurohandball.com. She's always reporting on the women's matches there, along with Adrian, our good friend on the podcast.
And Adrian, we have to give a quick shout out because we would have had them both together for this one, Adrian and Danijela, but Adrian Costello has just become a father. So congratulations to him.
Congratulations.
He probably would have joined if he had a chance, but it was only yesterday that the baby came home for the first time. So I think we can let this one slide, and probably for the best that he doesn't come on for a while.
Yeah, the fact he even considered it shows you the dedication he has to the sport.
Didn't even reply to me. That's a lot. So no, huge congratulations to Adrian. And thankfully, everyone is happy and healthy back home. And so, in a few weeks, I'm sure we'll be able to get him back on with Danijela and a few other people we have lined up to talk to us about women's handball in the coming weeks and months. But for now, that'll do it. We also have a morning club, as Brian alluded to. Whoever Alex gets to chat with, he's doing this one solo. He's kind of left us out of it. It was like, you guys sort out the women's Champions League, I'm going to do a morning club. So it's only for our subscribers on Patreon, which you can join for as little as $1 a month, as much as you like. Now, it depends on how much you like us and want to support the work we do, but head on over to patreon.com/handball hour for that. And we'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.